Recent update, cancer survivor wife wanted a hall pass. My lawyer wasn't available for a few days, so I was faced with the reality of having to live with my wife temporarily. I really didn't want to go home and have a discussion with her about anything, let alone one about our relationship. When I finally got home I was basically ambushed by her friends, and my mother-in-law. Instead of taking the remorseful approach, they decided that a full court press was necessary, and I was basically berated by every single one of them. They all decided to remind me of things such as how my wife has been through a lot, how I didn't understand what she had been through, how her infidelity was only a one-time thing she could have hidden from me but didn't. There were plenty of other things said as they sat here trying to convince me I was in the wrong for not wanting to stay with a cheater, but those are a few examples. I listened, and when there was a pause in their fury, I asked if they were done. When there was no answer, I informed them that I was going to sit down with their husbands and tell them about how they verbally abusing me, shaming me, and trying to coerce me into staying with a cheater. After I told them to leave, I said that I had no say in the entire event, and so they have no say in whether I stay or not. My soon-to-be ex-wife sort of apologized. She said that she regretted the entire decision. I told her there was a difference between regret and remorse. She only regretted what happened because of the cause and effect that shortly followed after she made her choice. She regretted it because her life and our relationship will never be the same, because she was wholly and willfully unconcerned about me and what I wanted. She asked if I had any questions because she was willing to answer now, no matter how disturbing. All I managed to ask was why she'd done this. I wasn't necessarily asking why this guy specifically, or why this low-end unattractive, unfit guy, but why she slept with someone else in the first place. She said that the cancer scared her down to her core and she felt like she was rushing towards mortality, and stepping out of that tunnel seemed appealing. She told me that after all this time of being a wife and mother, worrying about her family, this was something just for her. She called it an escape. The guy was just someone who was interested in her for a long time, who she knew wouldn't say no, and was the complete opposite to me. I then told her if I was going to risk our marriage by cheating, the woman I would have done it with would need to be a serious upgrade from her. I told her that I saw the two of them coming out of the bar that night and watched as they walked away from the bar hand in hand towards the hotels. I then asked if they ever had anything going on before that night because they looked so familiar with each other, and although she replied by telling me that wasn't the case here, how could I possibly know the truth? I proceeded by telling her that after all our years together, her lack of respect for me throughout this entire situation was probably the most astonishing. I finished off my monologue by saying that I would never be able to look at myself in the mirror again if I condoned that level of disrespect and stayed with her in the long run. Lastly, I told her that I hoped we could go our separate ways peacefully and that I have an appointment with a lawyer later in the week. I again asked her to find some other accommodations, and she simply said she wasn't going anywhere because we weren't going to be getting a divorce. She was basically pleading at this point. She told me she'd give me all the time I needed and said I was allowed to do whatever I needed to recover from this because this was something we needed to get past together. She's asked me to go to marriage counseling, but I've refused. Why would I go to counseling when I did nothing to warrant needing a therapist's advice? I had her served and gave her a notice to vacate since the house is my premarital asset. She has since moved in with her mom, but I find her constantly coming by to see if I need anything or making suggestions like what if we had an open relationship only on your side, which only makes her look kind of desperate and pathetic. I've been rejecting her constantly and telling her she has to call to ask permission before coming by, and it finally seems to be getting through to her that there will be no us going forward. She said that she's going to drag this divorce out for as long as possible, but so far she's been pretty compliant. The worst part of all this is telling my daughter that we're getting a divorce and why, followed closely by her begging me to give her mom another chance, and I'm honestly not sure if I would have been given the same consideration if I was the one who was cheating.